The girl did nothing all day but huff and puff as she climbed a tree. If she fell, she would just get back up and start climbing again. This was all because an accident had transported her to a world of beastmen where the males were not only unbelievably muscular, but also all over 9 feet tall. To survive, the girl, a self-proclaimed silly duck, could only tiptoe around and climb trees to pick fruit while they slept. But she never expected to be targeted by a wild and direct male. How could her frail body possibly handle that? Right now, she was looking at the huge tree, trying to psych herself up, but she slipped and fell from halfway up for the 3rd time. The inner sides of her thighs and calves were already bruised and bleeding. She frowned. I was fine the past 2 days. Why can't I climb it today? Just as she wrapped her arms around the trunk and climbed another 3 feet, she heard footsteps behind her. She turned her head and jumped in surprise. The man walking slowly toward her was incredibly tall. The muscles on his arms and legs bulged, and his biceps were so pronounced that the sheer force of his physique seemed to radiate from him. In the sunlight, his jawline was sharp, his face like a chiseled statue, hard and stoic. Their eyes met, and Qingyu felt like she was being stared down by a ferocious beast. The predatory feeling was so intense that she started to breathe cautiously, quickly looking away. The day was too hot. Droplets of sweat fell from Fengge's chest, ran down his abs, and disappeared into his beast-hide skirt. He saw the girl's fearful and wary eyes, and it reminded him of the white bell rats. They were just as cowardly after they took human form. Every time they saw him, they'd get defensive and terrified, and would frantically burrow back into their holes. This little female was pretty much the same, except there was no hole here. When he found her, he'd noticed her timid nature but hadn't paid much attention to it. Who would have thought she'd come here to pick fruit for 3 days in a row? She did nothing but climb this one tree all day, which had kept him up for a few nights. Today, he just couldn't resist coming over to scare her. But now, looking at the little female's fair, soft face, so delicate it looked like you could squeeze water from it, and her slender arms and legs that seemed like they could snap with a single bend, a strange feeling flashed through his heart. As if by a strange impulse, he found a spot and sat down, spreading his long legs wide. Little female, I haven't eaten in days. Give me the fruit next to you. Qingyu's eyes widened in shock, and her face went pale. She quickly turned her head away. What did she just see? Are all the beastmen here this wild? Amid her shock, she looked at the 2 fruits by her feet. Without a moment's hesitation, she picked one up and slowly moved toward him, offering it. Fengge stared at her 2 slender, pale hands, and his eyes flickered. The moment he took the fruit, the female immediately recoiled, proving just how timid she was. The girl picked up the last fruit and started eating it quickly, covering the lower half of her face. She peeked at him with her eyes, looking terrified that he would eat all the fruit. This made Fengge chuckle. The wild fruit trees here are all tall. You can't pick much, and they'll go bad quickly anyway. The girl's dazed look was like an uneasy little beast, which made Fengge's hardened heart soften. He looked at her clear eyes and rosy little mouth, and his hands began to itch. I can turn them into dried fruit. With this sun, they'll be ready in 2 days. Fengge stood up, clapped his hands together, and took a big step toward her. Qingyu panicked and scrambled to her feet. His massive shadow completely enveloped her, and his scent reached her nose, making her heart pound. She could only back away. Why are you so scared? Don't you like fruit? I'll go up and get some for you, Fengge said flatly. Qingyu was stunned. She hadn't expected this seemingly ferocious person to offer to help her. Before she could speak, Fengge quickly scaled the tree. He told the little female to move back, then tightly hugged a thick branch and began to shake it with all his might. The fruits fell one after another, with a loud rattling sound. Qingyu's eyes grew wide, and her face gradually filled with excitement. But it wasn't long before her heart ached. The fruits were falling in a frenzy, smashing to bits. She wanted to say something, but didn't know how to start. If she had to climb and pick them herself, it would take half a month to get this many. Fengge jumped down from the tree, and his mood inexplicably brightened when he saw her shining eyes. Is this enough? Yes, more than enough. Thank you. The sight of her lips opening and closing made Fengge's throat move, and his heart felt a little ticklish. Okay, he replied. Fengge irritably ran a hand through his short hair. Damn it, why is he eating these fruits? He's a carnivore. Suddenly he felt a little hungry. He wiped the sweat from his forehead. First, I'll go hunt and eat. Then I'll take a bath. Qingyu's tense nerves finally relaxed with the help of the male. She took the fruits and returned to the cave. Qingyu, Where did you go? We're having roasted meat tonight. Come join us. Yunduo had been waiting at the cave entrance for a while and felt relieved when she saw her return. It was Yunduo who had found her. She knew the girl had no family, and because of her baby face and small size, she thought she was underage. Since she'd brought her back, she felt she should take care of her. A wave of warmth rose in Qingyu's heart. The beasts here were huge. She would only be able to run away from them, let alone hunt them. They'd probably hunt her instead. She was only able to eat meat because of Yunduo's occasional generosity. Thank you, Sister Yunduo. I went to pick some fruit to dry. She was too embarrassed to say that she had looked for her 8 times today, and all 8 times she had been in the cave, getting cozy with her mate. Don't mention it. Xuning didn't go out today. It was Brother Yi who brought back the prey, a big, fat, woolly beast, Yunduo said. I don't know why he brought back meat today, but when there's food, don't ask so many questions. Qingyu asked who Brother Ye was. She had only seen a few males and females in the past few days, and they had all gone out. This entire mountain was won by Brother Yi through fighting. He's either on his way to hunt or on his way to fight. The rest of the time, he's sleeping or arguing with the chief. But you don't have to be afraid of him. He only fights males, not females. Just don't get in his way if you don't have to. Okay, I'll stay away from him. Qingyu nodded. She was fragile and knew that if she went near someone with a bad temper, she'd be asking for a beating. 10 minutes later, under a big tree, 2 men were roasting meat. One was Xuning, and the other was the man who had picked fruit for her that morning. The girl's footsteps faltered. So he's Fengye. It turns out he's not just outwardly fierce, he's actually a total beast. She opened her mouth and obediently followed Yunduo in greeting them. When Fengye heard her soft voice, he couldn't look away from her. Qingyu felt as if she was naked, and his gaze was burning a hole through her. The group was sitting close around the fire. Yunduo picked up a piece of meat. It's ready, Qingyu! Come and eat! Just as the girl reached for it, a piece of roasted meat bigger than her face was pushed in front of her. She stared at the entire leg of meat and stared at Fengye in a daze, feeling a little helpless. When she came to her senses, she quickly waved her hands. Brother Yi, I can't eat this much. Yunduo's eyes were full of confusion and surprise. Her gaze darted back and forth between the two, trying to understand what was happening. Did they fall for each other? No, it must be Brother Yi who fell for Qingyu. Fengye pushed his roasted meat forward and waved away the piece Yunduo had brought. The meat I roast looks and tastes better than theirs. He then moved a bit closer to Qingyu. A faint, almost imperceptible smile flashed across his face. You're still underage, you should eat more meat. You should eat less of those wild fruits, or you won't grow tall. The silence from the already grown Qingyu was deafening. No matter how much she ate, she wouldn't grow any taller. She might just get fatter. Just as she thought this, the man next to her spoke again. From now on, I'll roast meat and bring it to you. You can have as much as you want, I'll make sure to fatten you up. Qingyu swallowed, a little overwhelmed. She looked at Yunduo for an explanation. What does this mean? The two of them were just as stunned, their gazes bouncing back and forth between her and Fengye. They completely missed her question. If you can't finish it, I'll eat it. Fengye was getting a little impatient. It's just meat. Why do you have to think about it for so long? Hearing his tone turn sour, Qingyu nervously took the meat and began to eat it in large bites. Seeing how hungry the little female was, Fengye's spirits lifted. He kept pulling the meat into smaller pieces and handing them to her. After he went hunting and ate this morning, the little female's face and small body kept popping into his mind. For some reason, he ended up hunting another fat woolly beast. Its meat was the most tender, perfect for the little female to eat. Qingyu's mouth was full, and she looked at the pieces of meat stacked in her hands, feeling a little like crying. When she had no meat, she wanted it. When she had too much, she wanted to cry. She finally managed to swallow the meat in her mouth. She steeled herself and handed the meat in her hand back. I can't eat anymore. You eat it. If I eat anymore, I'm going to throw up. Fengye looked at her belly, which hadn't even bulged. Seeing that she really didn't want to eat, he didn't force her. He naturally took the roasted meat and quickly began to eat it. With an incredibly hearty manner, he stood up, clapped his hands, and handed her the water he had prepared earlier. It's so hot, you must be thirsty. Then he said, I'll walk you back. Qingyu wanted to refuse. It was only a 10-minute walk. Why would she need him to escort her? It would be more dangerous if he did, but he just stood there, waiting. Qingyu had no choice but to get up and hesitantly follow him as they slowly walked back. Fengyi didn't say a word on the way. He didn't leave until he saw her safely inside the cave. Qingyu, like a thief, secretly stretched her neck and watched his retreating back, completely baffled. Yunduo, still sitting by the fire, nudged her mate with her elbow. Does Brother Yi want Qingyu to be his mate? But Qingyu is still a minor. Can he restrain himself? Don't worry, the tribe has rules. No one can touch an underage female. Brother Yi knows what he's doing, Suning said, and continued eating his meat. He was so busy observing them that he hadn't eaten enough. Qingyu lay on the dry grass, letting her mind go blank. She had only been here for a few days, but her modern life felt like a distant dream. She had grown up with her grandmother, and after her death, she was alone. When she wasn't in school, she was working part-time jobs. Her environment taught her that it was okay not to be in a relationship, but it was not okay to be broke. Years of non-stop work left her thin. At 5 feet 5, she weighed 103 pounds. She had a standard oval face with baby fat. The beast realm was about to face a cold season, and she knew she couldn't survive on her own. She wanted to use her youthful-looking baby face to her advantage and find a mate after she had slowly adapted. The next day, Qingyu went looking for a fruit tree she could climb, but she couldn't find one. When she returned to the cave, she saw Fengye sitting comfortably inside as if it were his own home. He was in the spot where her bed of dry grass was. She remembered his behavior from yesterday, and her feet faltered slightly. Her heart pounded in her chest, and she couldn't bring herself to step into the cave. At Fengye's feet was a large pile of herbs and some fruit. When he heard her footsteps, he opened his eyes and stared at Qingyu's face, then slowly moved his gaze to the still red and swollen inner sides of her legs. It looked unpleasant. "Come here and lie down. I'll put some medicine on you." Qingyu quickly backed away, pressing her hand against the cave wall, her hair standing on end. "Put medicine on me? Why do I have to lie down?" Her breathing quickened. She stood at the cave entrance, unable to go in. Her wounds were on the inside of her calves and thighs from climbing the tree. She wouldn't dare let him put medicine on them. "I'll do it myself." He picked up 2 large stones from outside and brought them to the cave entrance. Fengye's eyebrows shot up. Of course, he wanted to put the medicine on her himself. But seeing how terrified she was, he curved his lips into a meaningful smile and didn't mention it again. He picked up the herbs and watched her struggle, crushing them with the stones. Green juice splashed everywhere. At this rate, there would be nothing left to put on her wounds. He stopped her hand, took a handful of the herbs, and gently crushed them until the juice trickled down his palm. He held his hand out, and his voice was pleasant. "Take it." Qingyu held her hands out, and the juice fell into her palms, drop by drop. She looked around the small cave. Seeing that he wasn't paying attention, she steeled herself and turned to apply the medicine to her wounds. Fengye let out a soft laugh. Given his height, even if she turned around, he could still see everything. The leather she was wearing shifted to reveal her pale, slender thighs, making his throat tighten. He wanted to touch them, to squeeze them. He watched her for as long as she took to apply the medicine, feeling a strange itch all over his body. "Take out the fruit and put it on the stone," he said, his voice a little hoarse. He then smacked a fruit with his palm, breaking it into several pieces. "Eat something! I'm starving!" Fengye wasn't just hungry. He was also burning up. Qingyu's eyes involuntarily drifted to his abdomen. You couldn't tell he was hungry just by looking at him. His 8-pack abs were arranged perfectly, like solid rock. His bronze skin and the lines of his muscles intersected, full of power and wildness. In her old life, it was rare to see a man with such a great physique, so she couldn't help but sneak a few extra glances. "I'm not hungry yet." "You eat," she said, not touching the fruit. She had eaten too much in the past few days and had lost her appetite for it, sensing her occasional glances at his stomach. Fengye asked directly, "You like it when it's hard? Go ahead and touch it. My arms and legs are hard too. You can touch all of me," he said, inching closer to her and gesturing for her to reach out. Qingyu gripped her skirt tightly. She was glad she wasn't eating anything, or she would have choked. He was too direct. Her voice became a stuttering mess. "I'm not touching it." Fengye let out a laugh, finding her shyness amusing. "What's there to be embarrassed about? If you want to touch it, you can touch all of me." Seeing not only her face, but also her skin begin to blush, his hands started to itch again. He gripped the fruit in his hand, slowly increasing the pressure. He couldn't hold back anymore. With a crunch, the fruit in his hand was crushed into pieces. This made Qingyu's heart tremble. She subconsciously touched her own neck. If his hand was on her neck, it would have been broken by now. Trembling, She reached out and touched his abs before quickly pulling her hand back. She didn't feel anything else, just the hardness and the heat. Qingyu was on the verge of tears. What kind of fetish is this? He's forcing me to touch him. Feng Ye was stunned for a moment before a low laugh escaped his throat. He thought she was too scared to touch it. It seemed she really did like it. Qingyu's hand was so soft. Recalling the feeling, Feng Ye's body burned even hotter. His voice grew deeper. Do you want to touch my arms and legs too? Qingyu saw the increasing darkness in his eyes, and her soul nearly left her body. Let alone touching his arms. She didn't even have the courage to lift her hands. Her intuition told her she couldn't stay here any longer. She scrambled to her feet and ran out. Feng Ye sat at the cave entrance, watching her run away. He let out a scoff. I just wanted you to touch my arms and legs, and you got this scared. He didn't move from his spot, stretching his legs lazily and resting his back against the wall. Xian, they're mating right now. They don't have time to see you. Qingyu still wasn't used to running barefoot, so she wasn't very fast. She stopped when she heard him. The medicine she had just put on her feet would be gone from all this running. Feng Ye held up the leftover herbs and waved at her. Come back. If you don't move, I'll come over and carry you back. You know you can't outrun me. Qingyu froze, not daring to move until he began to stand up. She nervously walked back. The word coward was invented for her. Feng Ye was right. She couldn't outrun him, and even if she could, where would she go? She didn't dare refuse him as he put the medicine on her soles. His rough hand stroked the bottom of her feet, and she couldn't help but try to pull away, but his strength was too much. She couldn't move at all. Feng Ye watched the little female curling into a ball. She had wounds all over her, looking so pitiful. He hadn't even done anything to her, so why was she so scared of him? After applying the medicine, he stood up. I'm gonna go hunt. I'll be back soon. Stay here and don't move, or your wounds will never heal. He was about to leave when the village elder called out to him to go on a hunt. They didn't see each other for 2 days, but Qingyu's face would pop into his mind, making his heart race. He just wanted to see her right away. For the past 2 days, the girl had been busy, either picking fruit or drying it. She fell asleep in the cave without even realizing it, lying obediently on the dry grass. While hunting, Feng Ye remembered the scratches on the girl's legs from climbing the tree. He had even found special herbs for her. Upon returning, he rushed to her cave, picked up her foot, and began to gently apply the medicine. In her sleep, Qingyu felt someone scratching the soles of her feet. She groggily opened her eyes. A pair of green eyes were staring directly at her. Her heart instantly jumped into her throat, and she screamed. Don't be scared. It's me, Feng Ye said calmly. Qingyu had lost half her soul. Hearing his voice only made her more afraid. She tried desperately to pull her foot away, but couldn't. She was so anxious, she started to sweat. What are you doing in my cave? This is my cave. She had no idea what he wanted, and what was worse, she felt powerless to resist anything he might do. She tried to pull her foot back, but he held on even tighter. As Feng Ye applied the medicine, he kept his eyes on her. It had only been a few days, but he couldn't seem to get enough of her. Qingyu's eyes were red, and tears streamed down her face. Even when she was angry, her voice was still soft. Feng Ye licked his lips, fighting the urge to lean in and lick away her tears. I came to put herbs on your injured feet, he patiently explained. Every year, many males and females die from their wounds. You can't ignore them. His keen eyes could see things both day and night, so he naturally could see her well. She shivered in fear. I'm not going to eat you, so why are you so scared? You could have called for me at the entrance. I get scared when you just come in. Qingyu had never experienced anything like this. In the modern world, every door was locked. I already blocked the cave entrance with things. How did you get in? Feng Ye let out a scoff. Those things at the entrance can't do anything but block the wind and make it hotter inside. There's no way they could stop me. As he spoke, he didn't stop what he was doing. After applying the medicine to the sole of her foot, he began to work his way up the inner calf. Some faint red marks came into view. Feng Ye applied the medicine carefully, not missing a single spot. You went climbing trees again, Feng Ye said, a hint of displeasure in his voice. Qingyu didn't reply. It was a matter of survival during the upcoming cold season. Of course, she had to go pick fruit. Feng Ye understood that she was afraid of having nothing to eat later on. It was his fault for not explaining things clearly to her, which made her worry about going hungry. The feeling of her skin made his body slowly tense up. Beads of sweat formed on his forehead and fell one by one. Qingyu sat up, her hair a mess and her lips slightly parted. The leather she was wearing was askew, revealing a large area of skin. Fengye's breathing grew heavier. At this moment, his instincts told him to pin her down, hold her in his arms, and feel how soft her body was. He wanted to know if this little female would cry like this under him. Suddenly, he remembered something and gritted his teeth. Damn it. Qingyu isn't an adult yet. Qingyu couldn't see his expression. Fengye's hand was now wandering all over her calf. I'll do it myself. A man who looked like a small mountain was sitting by her feet, and she could feel his body heat from a distance, which terrified her and made her face flush. She reached out for the herbs, but he gripped her hand tightly. Then she felt the man get even closer. His breathing was right by her ear. You can't crush these herbs. It's faster if I do it. Fengye suppressed his urges, took the herbs next to him, and squeezed them into a ball. With a squeeze of his palm, the juice began to drip. No! I'll do it myself! Qingyu quickly refused. Her calves were done, and next was her thighs. She couldn't imagine a man she had only met a few times putting medicine on her thighs. Fengye didn't refuse this time. He just squeezed the juice into her palm. Fine, don't do it. He wasn't sure he could restrain himself if he continued. After she finished applying the medicine, Qingyu finally breathed a sigh of relief. She looked at the man still sitting there who had no intention of leaving and grew nervous again. She hoped he would leave quickly. If he stayed here, she wouldn't be able to sleep. She would be too scared. Fengye knew exactly what she was thinking. She wanted him to leave, but he didn't want to. He just wanted to be here. He could even just watch her sleep. Qingyu's fear of him made Fengye very uncomfortable. He didn't want to wait any longer. He used a hand to forcefully cup the back of her head, bringing their faces very close. Qingyu let out a soft gasp. Fengye sniffed her scent. It was sweet and pure, a smell he liked. His voice became low. You don't have a mate, and I don't have one either. How about we become mates? Qingyu was pressed against his chest. His heavy breathing was all around her, making her tremble. She could only use her hands to push against his chest. We've only met a few times. It's too fast. We can get to know each other slowly. In our tribe, if a male and female have a connection, they'll mate that same day. We had a connection days ago, so this isn't fast at all, Fengye said shamelessly. He had a connection with her from the beginning. He didn't know if she felt the same, but even if she didn't now, she would eventually. I'm not an adult yet. I can't have a mate, Qingyu said, her face flushed as she pressed against his chest. She wanted to buy herself some time. I want to wait until I'm an adult to find a mate. The softness against his chest made Fengye's breathing quicken. I'll take care of you until you're an adult. I can take care of my own mate, and I can see you every day. I'm excited just thinking about it. I'm a great hunter and a great fighter. I won't let you starve, and I won't let any other male or female bully you. We're a great match. Fengye was burning up all over. He knew he couldn't stay here any longer. If he did, he wouldn't be able to hold back. After saying what he needed to say, he hurriedly left to take a bath. Qingyu's entire body went limp. She stared blankly at Fengye's back. Did she really have to find a male mate so soon? And with Fengye, before he left, he leaned in and whispered in her ear, If you don't agree today, I'll come back and ask again tomorrow. If you still don't agree tomorrow, I'll just have to use my own methods. His forceful words echoed in her ears. These words told Qingyu that if she refused, she would be taken by force. Knowing she couldn't refuse, Qingyu accepted her reality and began to think about her future. The beastmen of his tribe were incredibly strong and huge. They were very protective of their own and had excellent teamwork, so few would dare to mess with them. They were also loyal and only had one mate for life. She wouldn't be like the females of other tribes who were constantly forced to have children with different males. She also wouldn't have to worry about being a tool for the males to vent their desires, like the females who couldn't have children. And he was even willing to give her some time to think, even if she had to trick him into it. It was still good. Qingyu spent the whole night awake, filled with anxiety about the future. She got up at dawn, expecting Fengye to come for his answer, but he wasn't there. She went to the river to wash herself. The cool water on her face instantly sobered her up. She looked at her legs. The skin was covered in dried, dark green medicine and the swelling was gone. I found a clean rock and sat down to wash myself. I cleaned the sticky upper part of my body and was just wondering if I should go for a swim when I saw a fruit the size of a pumpkin floating in the water. My heart instantly jumped into my throat. How could a fruit be in the water? Did someone put it there? My eyes scanned the area. A moment later, a bronze chest appeared above the water. His face was hidden by dense tree branches. My mind went blank, and I asked uncertainly, "Fengye?" Came a sound from the water. Hearing the familiar voice, I breathed a sigh of relief, but also felt a little awkward. To make it easier to clean myself, I had taken off my skirt. I quickly turned around to put it on. By the time I was dressed, Fengye was out of the water, droplets dripping from his entire body. I didn't know where to look. I stammered, I'm going back now." Of course, Fengye wouldn't let me leave. Last night, after taking a quick dip, he had gone back and circled my cave. He felt an itch all over his body. Before, he never thought there was anything wrong with his sleep, but for the past few nights, he couldn't sleep a wink. If he couldn't see me, he felt like something was missing. He hadn't come to find me this morning because he was on fire, so hot he felt like he was going to explode. He had to stay in the water for a while. Now that I was in front of him, he wasn't going to let me slip away. Fengye reached out and wrapped an arm around my shoulder. My newly cleaned skin was glistening with water droplets. Fengye couldn't resist. He reached out a finger and gently wiped them away. When his fingers touched my cool, smooth skin, he rubbed it inch by inch, unwilling to let go. I didn't refuse his touch, which made Fengye's eyes light up. The corners of his mouth curled into a smile. "You've agreed?" He gently cupped the back of my neck, making me look up at him. I tried to speak under his intense gaze. Our bodies were very close. Fengye's unrestrained face was right in front of me, our noses almost touching. I could feel the heat of his breath, and my heart raced. The extreme intimacy made my body tremble. "You won't hit me in the future, will you?" I calmed down and asked the question I wanted to ask most. If he was the type to be abusive, I knew I wouldn't last a single fight with him. Fengye gritted his teeth, his anger turning into a laugh. If he were to fight, it would be with other males, ones he could flip with one hand. What was a female to him? Besides, I was his mate. He would dote on me, not hit me. I heard his cold laugh, and my hair stood on end. The next second, his big hand wrapped around my waist, picking me up. I subconsciously wrapped my arms around his neck. Fengye held my bottom with one hand. "Squeeze my waist with your thighs!" My face was full of unease, but he didn't have the heart to scare me anymore. "I won't hit you. I'll pamper you, if anything." His low voice sounded in my ear. My thighs were still clamped tightly around his waist, and I felt like I was about to burst into flames. What if I can't have a baby? Many females in the tribe couldn't have children. Then you can't. Fengye didn't hesitate for a moment. He was prepared for this the moment he took a liking to me. Given my small size, it was normal if I couldn't have children. He didn't know what the future held, but what he said did bring me some comfort. I had already decided last night that even though Fengye was a bit direct, putting his perfect body and handsome face aside, this rugged beast man was actually quite thoughtful toward me. "Fengye, I'll treat you well too." This made Fengye stop. He raised an eyebrow and looked down at me, a hint of a playful smile on his face. "You said it. Don't complain about being tired later. I'm not afraid of getting tired." Fengye's smile grew, filled with a deeper meaning. It sounded very flirtatious. I was a little confused, pondering what he had meant. It took a while for me to realize that I was talking about our future life, and he was making a dirty joke. I looked up at him a few times. If I didn't want to make him mad, I would have bitten him. "You're not an adult yet. Don't rub against my neck." It wasn't hot right now, and I was as light as a feather in his arms, but he was sweating, and his throat was dry. He had never been this close to a female. The longer he held me, the lighter I felt. I didn't. I don't know what I was thinking. I looked up at him 5 times. Looking up and then looking down, isn't that rubbing against me? Damn it, with all the looking you're doing, my ears are turning red. All the heat rushed down to my lower body. My time in the water was for nothing. "What do you mean by rubbing?" I mumbled quietly. Fengye leaned in and whispered in my ear. "That doesn't count. Rubbing is when you're on top of me." The position we were in was already intimate, and his blunt words made me want to bury my head in his stomach. I didn't dare say anything else and obediently rested my head on his shoulder. My breath on him made his eyes darken, and his hand subconsciously tightened. He only realized he had hurt me when he heard a small whimper. It hurt just from that? I'm not even using any strength. My body was so delicate that a single touch could hurt me. What will I do in the future? Your waist is so thin I can hold it with one hand. Is all your meat in your chest? If I use any strength, it feels like I'll break you. You need to eat more meat in the future. I don't know if my body can handle it, but my heart was on the verge of collapsing. Okay, don't say anything else, Fengye smiled. If he kept talking, Not only would my face turn red, but my entire body would. With one arm he held me, and with the other he carried a round fruit back. He was thinking about other things. He loved humans. The mountains were not lacking in fruit and food, and the male beastmen could do whatever they wanted. But once the great wind season arrived, the males had to go out and hunt. When it got cold, many females couldn't stand the cold, so the males would turn into their beast forms to keep the females and their young warm so they could survive. Also, during the great wind season, fights were common. He used to be able to go out whenever he wanted, but he couldn't anymore. He had to stay in the cave to keep Qingyu warm so she wouldn't freeze. Before then, he had a lot to do. Fengye gently placed me on the stone bed covered in beast hides. I was a little nervous and didn't dare to look at him directly, but my peripheral vision was constantly on alert. He seemed so impatient to talk and act, and I was genuinely scared he would be unable to hold back and just pin me on the bed. But he turned around and used a bone knife to cut up the melon he had brought back. He handed a piece to me. "You probably haven't eaten this morning. Eat the fruit first. I'll go back and get some prey." I sat on the stone bed with my hands tightly gripping my skirt and didn't relax my grip. Even my breathing was cautious. He wasn't ugly, so why was I so afraid of him? Fengye licked his lips. "It's okay to be scared now. You'll love me in the future." As a male, he wouldn't let his mate starve. His muscular back quickly disappeared. I looked at the round fruit in my hand. It seemed not so bad. I smiled slightly and took a bite. It was very sweet, much better than the fruits I had picked before. After I was full, I began to look around his cave. When I looked closely, it was just like the cave I lived in before, empty. I wanted to cry. In the modern world, as long as I worked hard, I could live a good life, and it didn't matter if I got married or not. But in this world, to survive, I had to marry myself off so soon. And to a poor man at that. I decided that since I was going to live with Fengye, I should add things to the cave. I couldn't be idle anymore. The cave probably wasn't lived in often. It wasn't dirty, just a little dusty. I got up and tidied up the beast hides. They felt soft and warm. How did he treat them? There was no weird smell, and the furry texture made me love them. In just an hour, Fengye returned with the cleaned prey. He skillfully made a fire and began to roast the meat. He turned around and saw that the cut fruit was still there, untouched. He was silent for a moment before looking at me. "You only ate this much? With this little food, I can feed you with the food I have in my mouth." I blinked. "I was waiting for you to roast the meat for me." A faint smile appeared in Fengye's eyes. "Go rest on the bed. I'll call you when it's ready." His eyes fell on the moved beast hides. My wounds hadn't healed yet, so I could organize them later. Fengye started a fire at the cave entrance. The heat of the roasted meat distorted the air around it. Sweat dripped constantly from his body. He would occasionally wipe it with his hand. This motion made my mouth twitch. This was truly a rough life. I was sweating too, but not like him. He was sweating as if it was raining. I wanted to find something to wipe his sweat, but there was nothing in the cave, so I gave up. I took the soft beast hides I had just moved and sat beside him. "Can I use these to make a set of clothes?" I asked. I knew Fengye wasn't the type to care about such small things, but I still felt a little uncomfortable, so I habitually asked. "Those are all yours. Do whatever you want with them," Fengye said, flipping the roasted meat in his hand without even looking at me. He saw me stroking the beast hides and instantly regretted throwing the ones he considered of average quality to the other males. Before he had a mate, he didn't care for such things, but now he would save them all for me to touch as much as I wanted. Getting his permission, I thought for a moment. He had a lot of thin beast hides. After I made my clothes, I could also make some shorts for him. He only had a piece of beast hide wrapped around his waist, with no signs of stitches. I knew without a doubt that there was nothing underneath. His posture was so casual. I often didn't dare to look below his waist, because I knew what I would see. Food and shelter were no longer a problem with Fengye, so clothes had to be arranged. "Do you have a zither?" After I asked, I realized it was a stupid question. I could see everything in the cave, so how could he possibly have a zither? Fengye handed me the roasted meat. "Eat the meat first." Then, he said matter-of-factly, "No, I don't use those things, so of course, the cave won't have any. Tell me what our home needs and I'll get it." He was so used to saying cave that the word home felt a little strange coming from his mouth, but he liked the word. He reached out and wiped a black piece of roasted meat from the corner of my mouth. I looked up and met his gaze. His dark green eyes were like a whirlpool. I felt like a prey being stared at intensely. I chanted in my heart, "My man is a beast man." It's normal for his eyes to be dark green. I'll go to Sister Yunduo to get some ideas first. Don't worry. You eat too. Fengye nodded. A strange feeling spread through his heart. The males in the tribe all waited for the females to eat before they did. He thought this was normal, but looking at my serious eyes right now, he was inexplicably happy. I was a little confused as I tasted the roasted meat. The roasted meat I had eaten recently all had a faint, salty taste. There was no place on Fengye's body for him to carry salt. Where did the salt come from? What are you looking at? He was already sharp. I had been looking at him up and down. I was looking at what you put on the meat. Is it salt? This was important to our quality of life in the future, so I cared about it a lot. Humans can't go without salt for long periods of time. It's from the juice of the saltwater fruit, Fengye said. He grabbed a fruit from the side and placed it in front of me. As I reached for it, he suddenly gripped my hand tightly, staring at me. I haven't even asked you what tribe you were from before. Fengye's tone was calm, but it made Qingyu freeze. He was different from before. As she was thinking about how to answer, he spoke again. Even a female who has lived in a tribe her whole life would know what a saltwater fruit is. The tribe is from the west. A chill seemed to emanate from Fengye's eyes. Qingyu quickly shook her head. No, I'm not from the west. I came from a very, very far away place. She knew, even in her dazed state, that Fengye's expression and tone meant he had a grudge against the beastmen from the west. How did you get here? Fengye asked, his voice devoid of emotion. Qingyu felt helpless. Should she tell him she was from the modern world? I don't know. When I woke up, I was already here. Sister Yunduo found me and brought me back. Fengye looked at her, and his doubt made her even more anxious than before. Would he chase her out of the tribe? He picked her up and placed her on his lap. Don't be scared, he said. He pinched her cheek. It's not your fault. The northern and western beastmen had a large-scale conflict a year ago, and many males in our tribe died. He realized his reaction was too strong when he mentioned the west. I'm sorry, I scared you. He knew Qingyu didn't understand, so he told her about the general situation of the tribe. Qingyu finally understood that she had overthought things. Then why were you staring at my neck, she asked. I thought you were going to choke me. You scared me to death. How could you think so many things in such a short amount of time? Your dark green eyes are very scary, she added. Fengye didn't know what to say. My eyes are a natural-born color. In the future, if I'm angry, I'll tell you not to overthink things. Qingyu's eyes were slightly red, and her pale cheeks and shoulders were a tempting sight for Fengye. His throat bobbed, and he lowered his eyes, clenching his jaw. He balled his hands into fists, trying to suppress the desire in his body. In the end, he couldn't hold back. He buried his face in her neck, licking it little by little. Qingyu pushed his head away in terror. No matter the situation, this man could become indecent in an instant. Fengye was startled by her push. A moment ago, she was still scared of him, and now she dared to push him away. She had a temper now. Before he could speak, Qingyu heard wolf howls outside. What's going on? She asked. Troublemakers are here. We'll talk about this tonight, he said. He stood up and ruffled her hair. Wait for me here? Qingyu didn't move from the cave entrance. He had already said they were troublemakers, and she couldn't help him anyway. She might even need him to protect her, so it was better to not cause any trouble. Not long after Fengye left, Fengyan and Fengming came running from a distance. When they saw him, they immediately transformed into their human forms. Brother, that troublemaker brought uncle and auntie over, saying you took an underage sister-in-law. The chief and his wife appeared. Fengye lazily greeted them. The chief's wife smiled and nodded, while the chief gave them all a look. None of you are easy to handle, he muttered. As soon as he finished speaking, the brothers Yumo and Yuling, along with their mother and sister, arrived. How lively, Suning said. He and Yunduo walked over with beast hides wrapped around his waist. It was obvious they had just gotten out of bed. Fengye turned to look at the cave entrance. Qingyu's head was sticking out. He wasn't sure what she was thinking. Tell me what you want quickly, or leave. We have something to talk about, Yumo and Yuling's mother said, stopping them from speaking. Fengye, Yumo told me you found an underage mate. She's so thin and small. It's obvious she can't have babies. Look at my Yuji. She's about to be an adult. She has a large chest and a big bottom. She can have as many babies as you want. Yuji was pulled forward. She looked at Fengye's chilling expression and took a step back. Mom, stop talking, she said. She had tried to get close to Fengye before and was told to stay away or he would beat up her two younger brothers. After that, she never went near him again. The chief and his wife looked at each other, not expecting her to do this. She had come to them earlier, saying that Fengye had taken an underage female, which went against tribal rules, and she wanted them to intervene. It turned out she just wanted her daughter to be Fengye's mate. Yumo and Yuling were clearly here to cause trouble, but their mother's words embarrassed them. No wonder she insisted on bringing Yuji along. Fengye's companions looked at them as if they were a joke. Are you out of your mind? My brother has known her for a long time. If he liked her, he would have done something already, Fengyan said. The mother pulled Yuji closer and looked at her with disappointment before turning to Yumo. You know you can't beat Fengye, but you always look for trouble. You're not smart at all. It would be great if we became a family and could help each other, she said to Yuji. What are you so scared of? Fengye is only this fierce because he hasn't mated yet. Once he gets a taste of it, he'll be putty in your hands. She then turned back to Fengye. Fengye, we all know each other. Yuji is much better than the females from other tribes. What kind of relationship do we have? Fengye said, cutting her off with a dark expression. We barely see each other once a year. Whether your female can have babies or how many she can have has nothing to do with me. His sharp gaze pierced Yumo and Yuling. Your two males have a lot of grudges with me. On the way back, you better run as fast as you can. Don't let me catch up or else. Hearing their brother's words, Fenglin and Fengyan's eyes lit up. Those two are like idiots, always looking for trouble. Don't let us catch you. The mother's face paled. The males on this mountain all had bad tempers and would start a fight without hesitation. If the chief hadn't come with them, she wouldn't have dared to come. Chief, I didn't say anything. If Yumo and Yuling get hurt, I'm coming to you for justice. The chief, frustrated, waved his hand. Go back. Don't come here again. Stop causing trouble and then crying to me when you get hurt. Chief, you're being biased. When did I cause trouble? Yumo said, pointing at Fengye. He took an underage female by force. You can't protect him. You can tell just by feeling the bones in her hand. Yuling chimed in. I secretly saw that female before. She's so pale and delicate. She's definitely not an adult. This morning I saw from a distance that Brother Yi was carrying her like she was a little beast. She didn't even dare to speak. Even if she's not an adult, I can raise her until she is. What does that have to do with you? Fengye said, his voice flat. Xingyu is in my cave right now. If she didn't want to, why would she be living with me? The two brothers looked at each other and began to walk toward the cave. Fengye kicked a large rock next to him, sending it into the middle of the path. Try taking another step forward. Fengye and his companions blocked the entrance, ready to fight. The chief's wife, a bit more observant, pulled her mate aside. He really did take her by force. We just need to ask the female if she's willing to be here. If she is, Fengye can raise her until she's an adult. Fengye's stance was clear. No one was getting in. The only way to the cave was over his body. He was scared that if they asked Qingyu where she came from, she would reject him. Why wouldn't she come out? That's what he was afraid of. When the mother brought up Yuji, Yinduo went into the cave. Sister Yinduo, Qingyu said quietly, her face full of worry. She hadn't expected the chief to be able to feel bones, which would reveal her age. Last night, she'd confidently lied to Fengye about not being an adult, and today, she was about to be exposed. She felt like something bad was about to happen. Seeing that Qingyu wasn't smiling, Yunduo began to have negative thoughts. Did Brother Yi really take her by force? That must be why she's so unhappy. Qingyu had learned from Yunduo that during every season, the chief would feel the bones of the underage females to determine if they were ready for a mate. The time for bone feeling was coming up. It would be better to tell Sister Yunduo the truth now. If the chief confirms that I'm an adult, then everything will be fine, right? Yunduo's eyes widened. You're an adult? Qingyu's face fell. Yes, I just became one today. Yunduo's voice got louder. So Brother Yi didn't take you by force? No, I came willingly, Qingyu said. Yunduo wasn't one to overthink things. After hearing her, she grabbed her and made her stand up. Let's go. We're making a fool of ourselves. Just as Qingyu stood up, she heard the troublemaking males yell. Don't take advantage of the fact that there are many of you. We have so many males in our tribe. I don't believe you can beat all of them. Feng Ye saw Qingyu come out, and his heart jumped. He wanted her to go back, but in the end, he didn't say anything. As soon as she came out, the scene quieted down. Qingyu walked directly to the chief's wife. Chief's wife, I'm an adult. You can feel my bones. She extended her hand. What did he just hear? Didn't she say yesterday that she wasn't an adult? Feng Ye narrowed his eyes dangerously. Great. Everyone on this mountain was lied to by her. We'll talk about this later. The chief pinched her wrist and finger joints. It was a slight pain. Before he could react, she said, I'm already an adult. Chief, were you willing to become Feng Ye's mate? As the chief, he still had to ask. I am. Qingyu couldn't read Feng Ye's expression, but she saw how unwilling he was to come out of the cave. I am willingly, she said. Feng Ye didn't know what she was going to say, so he cut her off. She said she's willing. This finally put his mind at ease. He then looked at Yumo with an expression that clearly said, get out. Why did you cut her off? Were you trying to scare her? Yumo said, turning to Qingyu. Don't be scared. If you don't like him, you can be my mate instead. Just as Qingyu was about to refuse, Feng Ye transformed into his beast form and pinned the male on the ground, biting him. The one-on-one fight turned into a group brawl, and the scene was chaotic. The mother yelled at Qingyu in a hoarse voice. Quickly, go pull Feng Ye away. Feng Ye wasn't at a disadvantage. Why would she meddle and try to stop them? With her frail body, she would be sent flying if any of the males in their beast forms accidentally touched her. Qingyu glanced at the mother. Your bones are harder, you go. This was the first time she had seen Feng Ye in his beast form. She couldn't describe it, other than saying he was big and tall. He was like a small mountain, pinning Yumo down and biting him fiercely. Qingyu could see the leather on Yumo's body being torn off, revealing a large piece of red meat. Yunduo, who was standing on the side, heard her words and immediately smiled. She had thought Qingyu looked so soft that she might actually try to stop them. It turned out she was quite good at angering people. Qingyu is right, Auntie. You're older, and your bones are definitely harder. Mother was so angry she screamed and dragged the chief away. Yunduo winked at Qingyu. She had seen this many times and wasn't worried at all. She was even in the mood to gossip. What do you think of Brother Yi? Is he fierce? Do you like him? The topic change was so fast, it stunned Qingyu. The chief's wife was right there. Was this a good time to talk about this? Don't be shy. I like Xuning because he's a great fighter and he can protect me. Yunduo wasn't embarrassed at all. He's good in other ways too. Qingyu's face turned beet red. After a long time, she quietly asked, does it hurt? She hadn't experienced it herself, but she had heard a lot. Yunduo didn't know if she was reminiscing or thinking back, but her face was full of smiles. To Qingyu, that smile looked a little lecherous. She thought back to the things that had happened when she was with Feng Ye and asked, are you guys very harmonious? Yunduo leaned in and whispered a whole bunch of things into her ear. She only stopped when she saw Qingyu's ears turn red. She also gave Qingyu some other pointers. You have to tell Brother Yi what you need. For example, if you find tasty fruit, you have to bring it back. What kind of hides you like, what kind of meat you prefer, you have to make him bring it all back. After she said a lot of helpful things, the heat on Qingyu's face finally subsided. I know. I'll go find you tomorrow. You probably won't have time tomorrow, Yunduo said, looking at Qingyu's figure. You probably won't have time the day after either. She chuckled. In the end, Yumo's beast form was beaten until he was stumbling and unable to stand. When he transformed back, he was covered in blood. Feng Ye grabbed Yumo's neck and slowly leaned in. His tone was calm but incredibly cold. If I hear those words again, I'll kill you. Yumo didn't think he was joking. He opened his mouth but couldn't say a single word. He used to provoke him all the time, but Feng Ye would rarely fight back. It was different today. He truly wanted to kill him. The mother hadn't expected them to come with the chief and Yumo to be beaten so badly. It was just a few words. This time, she was truly crying. She and Yuji quickly helped them up and left. The chief stood on the side, scolding Feng Ye for over 10 minutes without repeating himself. Qingyu was horrified. It seemed the insults were the same everywhere. Feng Ye's expression didn't change. He even pulled her to stand in the shade. The chief had scolded Feng Ye and his companions, but when the topic shifted to Qingyu, Feng Ye spoke up lazily. You've scolded me enough. Don't say anything else about Qingyu. That tiny body could stop me. He's such a coward. If he gets sick, I'll dig another cave beside ours and bring Auntie over. His unfeeling words infuriated the chief. All the scolding he had done was for nothing. He was about to turn into a beast and fight. The chief's wife, seeing the situation, grabbed her mate. It's okay, just scold the few of them. Why are you bringing Yunduo and Qingyu into this? Qingyu stared at Feng Ye in a daze. She hadn't expected him to defend her like that. She felt a little lost. Feng Ye bent down, picked her up with one arm, and held her waist with the other as he walked toward the cave. Qingyu was lifted high off the ground and tried to find a place to hold on. The muscles on his shoulders were so hard, she could only wrap her arms around his neck. She was a little anxious and didn't know what to say. Then, a 4-inch gash on his shoulder came into view. It was bleeding. "You're hurt," she said, remembering what he had said yesterday about many males and females dying from wounds. She felt a little worried. "Let's go to my cave. You still have some of the herbs I picked yesterday. You can put them on your wound." "Sister-in-law, males and females are different," Feng Ming said, walking slowly to his cave. He heard her wanting to put medicine on his brother and kindly gave his 2 cents. "A male's wounds heal quickly. That little cut on my brother will be fine by morning. He doesn't need medicine." Feng Yan, who was walking behind him, closed his eyes and kicked Feng Ming in the butt. Feng Ming rolled on the ground a few times. Is what Feng Ming said true? Feng Ye's temple throbbed. He was a little angry, but I wasn't sure if he was mad at Feng Ming or at me. He didn't say anything, and the atmosphere became quiet. It took me a while to think of a question. "Are you mad? You said you wouldn't hit me. Even if you're angry, you can't." Feng Ye knew I was too scared. He wasn't that angry to begin with, but those words made him genuinely angry. He stopped, cupped my face, and made me look at him. "What makes you think I'll hit you?" He had never thought of hurting me. He wouldn't even hurt my finger. But I was still so scared of him. What was it about his words and actions that made me feel this way? "Why do you think I want to hit you at any moment?" he asked. "You look fierce when you don't talk or smile. That's what I feel," I said weakly. "Your sharp eyes look cold, and when you clench your lips, it makes you look even more fierce." I stopped right before I said the last sentence. He was too improper and too direct. He always looked like he was about to pin me down, which scared me sometimes. Feng Yi's fingers relaxed. My soft voice had already quelled his anger. "If I say I won't, then I won't. Don't ask me that again. I don't like hearing it." I stared at his face for a moment and then asked, "Are you mad?" "Not really. I just have to restrain myself." "When did you become an adult?" Feng Ye asked, looking up. I felt like I had dug another hole for myself. I had just told Yunduo that I had become an adult today. If there weren't so many other things going on, he wouldn't believe me. He had just said not to lie to him, and now I had. He wouldn't trust me at all. My little head spun for a long time before I whispered, "It's been a few hours." That should be accurate, right? He could interpret it however he wanted. Feng Ye gritted his teeth and then let out a soft laugh. "You're getting good at talking." I didn't dare to speak. He placed me on the stone bed and we stared at each other. He had thought I wasn't an adult, which was why he had restrained himself. Otherwise, he would have mated with me long ago. He didn't want to wait another second. My thin waist was still in his hand. Feng Ye's beastly nature was at its peak. "Didn't you ask me before why I kept looking at your neck?" He pointed at my neck and the parts of my body that were exposed. He wanted to see the parts that were hidden. He was the type to get what he wanted directly. Now, he wanted me. Feng Ye's low, hoarse voice made my body tense. The heat from his hand radiated through my clothes. I was so hot I could barely breathe, and my body trembled. I had mentally prepared myself the moment he pinned me to the wall, and didn't plan on refusing. The baby hair on my forehead was wet, sticking to my skin. I was sweating all over, feeling very uncomfortable. I held onto his hand that was on my back and stammered, "Feng Jie, let's go bathe. It's too hot, and I'm all sweaty. You like being outside?" My face flushed instantly. "No." My voice became unsteady. "There are flying beastmen here. Even though there are tree branches covering us, who knows if they'll see us?" Feng Ye's smile was sinister. I was thin-skinned and easily embarrassed. He could read my mind. "Don't worry, every male has their own territory. No one goes to that spot, and there's a cave to cover us. No one will see. I won't let any other male see you. Only I can." The last sentence was so flirtatious that the person in his arms trembled slightly. Without waiting for my answer, he picked me up and grabbed a few beast hides. After bathing, he didn't plan on coming back to the cave. It would be pointless to bathe and then come back. It was cool by the river, and he liked it there, but he had to prepare. My skin was too delicate, and he didn't want me to get hurt on the hard rocks. I was effortlessly picked up and sat securely on his firm, strong arms without any shaking. I felt incredibly safe. I couldn't help but point at the veins popping out on his arms. They were as hard as his abs. He was used to wearing only a beast hide, and I had seen his body many times, but the feeling was different every time. Before, his big body only scared me. Now, I couldn't help but let my mind wander. Thinking of my frail body, I leaned in and whispered in his ear. Fengye's eyes grew darker. He was covered in sweat. He forced my head up and kissed me, his kiss filled with desire and restraint. I felt him moving forward and said in a trembling voice, "Fengye, Fengye." Fengye picked me up and walked into the cave, a layer of skin on me still getting in the way. He was about to make a move when my soft, little hand grabbed his. "The leather clothes aren't finished yet," I pleaded in a trembling voice. "If they get ruined, I'll have to wear leaves." Fengye's voice was hoarse as he whispered a few words into my ear, making my scalp tingle with shame. "The next content is censured for financial stuff. We didn't have enough to make the virtual artist draw it, so you have to conform with this little dog. It is cute, isn't it? P.S. Is this better than the clouds of past videos, or do you prefer the clouds? Leave in the comments, please. Remember, Yoi are watching this in Ace Manhwa's channel UWU. The next morning, I woke up around noon. I was alone in the small cave. I had no idea where Fengye had gone. I tried to lift my hands and legs but couldn't. Things took me more than 10 minutes to sit up. I looked down, and my arms were covered in bruises. Even though I couldn't see my neck, I knew it was the same. My mind played back the events of last night like a movie, and my face was burning red. It took me a long time to recover. Fengye was too strong. I checked my waist, and thankfully, there were no bruises. I was completely restricted last night, allowing him to do whatever he wanted. I grabbed the skirt on the side and put it on. The marks on my body were very noticeable. In the modern world, I wouldn't dare to leave the house if I were bruised like this. Thankfully, I didn't see anyone here. Otherwise, I would have to stay in the cave for at least a week. Fengye walked in and saw that I was struggling to move. He quickly went over, put his arm around my waist, and kissed me. "Lie down. I'll put medicine on you." My body was so sore. He didn't want to leave, but he was too strong. I was too weak and couldn't take it. He had already held back a lot, but I was still in pain. To take care of me, he was covered in sweat. "Does it still hurt?" he asked, looking at the medicine wrapped in a leaf. I moved closer to him, leaning on his arm. "It doesn't hurt anymore. Where did you get this medicine?" Fengye sat down, making me more comfortable. I went to Auntie and asked her for it. I stared at him with wide eyes. He was so direct, without a hint of shame. He was about to lift my skirt, but I quickly stopped him. "I'll do it myself." Fengye looked at me shyly, a smirk on his face. "Why won't you let me put the medicine on? Are you scared I'll see?" His voice was hoarse. "We were intimate and even cuddled last night. Why are you still so shy?" He slowly tightened his arm around me. His words made my head spin. I was both angry and embarrassed. I buried my head in his shoulder, not wanting to see his face. "You say anything." Last night wasn't harmonious at all. It hurt most of the time. I couldn't help but wonder if our sizes were mismatched, which was why it hurt so much. I insisted on putting the medicine on myself, but he quickly pinned me on the beast hide. "If you won't let me use my hands to put the medicine on, then I'll use another way." His chest was like a brick wall. I couldn't move. He was true to his word and incredibly clingy. He had proven it last night. I quietly begged for mercy. My soft voice instantly ignited Fengye's desire. "I'm so hungry and it hurts." The words from my mouth made him both angry and amused. I had a mate, but it was more painful than not having one. There was no water to put the medicine on. He was afraid he wouldn't be able to hold back and walked outside. The roasted meat was by the river. To avoid the heat, he had chosen a spot further away. The meat was still warm, just right to eat. The fruits had also been picked early this morning, so I could eat them when I woke up. I breathed a sigh of relief. I quickly put the medicine on and went to wash up. I sat next to Fengye, eating these small pieces of meat he tore off for me. He would feed me from time to time until my stomach was full. He was relieved that my appetite was better than usual. "Do you want to go back to sleep? If you like fruit, I'll go pick some in a few days. Females don't grow taller once they're adults, but they can get fatter. You'll be softer and more comfortable to hold." He handed me a large piece of roasted meat. "Eat more." I shook my head like a wave. "I can't eat anymore." He knew I was full. It was just an automatic action. He held me and went back to the cave. He felt incredibly satisfied holding me in his arms. The cave entrance was covered by dense branches, with only a little sunlight shining through, making it very cool. I didn't feel hot at all in his arms. The space inside was small and empty. Even the beast hives were what he had brought yesterday. I instantly didn't want to sleep anymore. Before the great wind season, based on Fengye's strength, it was likely we would live a shameless life in the cave. But to live a stable life, we needed to have the basic necessities. The cave only had a stone bed. We didn't even have a basic stone pot, bowl, or a stone jug for water. Fengye wasn't afraid of the cold and could hunt during the cold season, so he didn't need these things. But I couldn't. The more I thought about it, the more I couldn't sleep. I just sat up. "Can you sleep?" I asked the man next to me. "No, I can't." Fengye laid on the beast hides, taking a sharp breath. His throat bobbed. He asked in return, "You've been moving in my arms. Do you think I can sleep?" He never knew he had so much restraint. It was hard to sleep without holding me, and it was hard to sleep holding me. I straightened my face. It was both pale and red. Before I could speak, Fengye leaned over. His kiss was full of desire and restraint. His breathing was hot, and our fingers were intertwined. I wanted him to get up, but he held on even tighter. It was a long time before he reluctantly let go. I finally relaxed. "If you can't sleep, let's get up and do something," I said softly. "I told you before that I can make a fire pit. It can keep the females and young from freezing during the cold season and reduce casualties." Fengye's expression grew serious. "Are you strong enough now?" I nodded. Getting my confirmation, Fengye didn't hesitate. He needed to try and see if it would work, so he could make plans early. He went back to the cave and let out a loud roar, calling all the males living in the area. The sound was deafening. I covered my ears from a distance. Before they came, I didn't forget to find some vines with leaves and wrap them around my shoulders. If the other males saw me like this, I would be so embarrassed I would die. Xiuning and Yunduo lived the closest. Rushing over, sweaty from the midday heat, Xiuning called out, "What's wrong, Brother Ye?" The last time there was such a commotion, Western males came to steal things. This made him immediately serious. "Wait until everyone's here," Fengye said. Seeing Xuning's wary look, he added, "It's not a fight, but it's very important." There was still shock in Yunduo's eyes. "What is it?" she asked, curious. In all her time in the tribe, there had never been anything so important that everyone had to gather. They usually lived their own lives. Qingyu told Yunduo about her idea for a heated sleeping platform. Since she had decided to make it, there was no need to hide it. As Yunduo watched in disbelief, Fengming and Fengyan arrived. Qingyu explained the plan in detail, including the materials needed and the steps to follow. Fengye wrote it all down on a stone. His handwriting was messy, and Qingyu couldn't read a single word, but Fengyan and the others could. Fengye's importance was evident as he gave each person a task. They would collect all the materials and bring them to Fenglin's cave. Since he didn't have a mate, if his cave exploded, he could just squeeze in with Fengyan. Fengming was overjoyed. "Brother, you're so good to me. I'm the first one you think of for something this great." He'd always thought that even though his brother hit him the most, he was always the first person he thought of when it came to good things. Fengyan looked at him as if he were an idiot. He knew his little brother's character, so there was no hope for him to get smarter. "You're overthinking it," Fengye said, shattering his illusion. "You and Fengyan are the only ones without a mate. If your cave explodes, you can just squeeze in with him." He didn't bother to sugarcoat his words. "Hurry up. Don't waste time." Qingyu saw Fengming freeze, a little hurt, and she glared at Fengye. Fengming then jotted down a list of things he needed and quickly went out to find them. Yunduo took Qingyu to Fenglin's cave. It was huge and empty. They found a suitable spot inside and waited for the others to return before starting. Qingyu looked around, while Yunduo was in a daze. She had picked up Qingyu out of pity, but she had found a treasure. She still couldn't believe it. If it's true, and all the females and young of the tribe can survive, the tribe will become stronger and safer. When I have a child, I won't have to worry about surviving the cold season. At this moment, Qingyu was different. Yunduo wanted to hug her and celebrate. She couldn't resist. She hugged her and kissed her all over her face. "Qingyu, you're amazing," she said. Qingyu quickly backed away, almost falling. Her eyes wide, she said, "Sister Yunduo, what are you doing?" She had goosebumps from the sudden display of affection. Yunduo's voice was full of excitement. King Yu, if we can really make the sleeping platform, you'll be my great benefactor. Not just mine, but the tribe's. Qing Yu hadn't thought about being a benefactor. She was just doing this to make the tribe stronger so she could live here safely. All she needed to do was take care of her small family. The others were quick. Once they had all the materials, they began to work. Qing Yu patiently explained everything again and again. They were strong and didn't get tired. By evening, they had already made a large platform. Fengge went over the steps in his mind. "We'll do the rest tomorrow," he said, putting down his tools. He then crouched down, inviting Qing Yu to get on his back. He had seen many times how painful it was for Qing Yu to walk on hard rocks. Her feet would get wounded, even though he was barefoot too. On Fengge's back, Qing Yu felt fine at first, but after a while, his hand kept squeezing her thigh. When they were working, he was so focused, but now that they were alone, he had changed again, making her anxious. "Stop squeezing," she said. "Let's go back and take a bath." Fengge had been working all afternoon, and it was still hot. Sweat dripped from his forehead. He would definitely take a bath, and he would do so with his mate. He gently placed her in the water and then turned around. Qing Yu's forehead was also sweating. He felt a little bad for her. "Soak in the water and cool down," he said. Qing Yu happily agreed. The water was cold, and her body was hot, so it took her a while to adjust, but after that, she didn't want to leave. It was much cooler here than in the cave, and even cooler in the water. She squatted down until only her head was visible. She then swam a lap around. In the end, Fengge had to kick her out. "I've called you 3 times, he said, pinching her neck. His voice was cold. "Why won't you listen? Females have weak bodies and can get sick if they stay in the water too long. Get up when you're not hot anymore." "I haven't been in for very long," she argued. "Only 20 minutes at most." She used to spend much longer in the swimming pool when she first learned to swim. Fengge ignored her and pulled her to the shore. Water dripped from her skin as she walked. He picked her up and carried her to the cave. He let go of her only after she had taken off her clothes and wrapped herself in a beast hide. He had asked Fenggan to hunt while they were working. He could go without food, but Qing Yu couldn't. He handed her one of the fruits he had picked this morning. "You're hungry. Eat some meat first. The roasted meat will take a while." Qing Yu watched him go to the fire to roast the meat. She couldn't sit still. She felt the beast hide on her to make sure it wouldn't fall off, and then walked over to his side. Fengge didn't even turn his head. He continued to skewer the meat. "What are you doing over here? It's hot here." "It's not that hot," she said, before he gave her a look that made her change her mind. "I just want to wipe your sweat." She didn't know why, but she felt like he was too clingy. In the modern world, she had heard so many stories about men who were controlling, but she had ended up with a clingy man. The look of being wronged on her face made Fengge a little amused. Quote, "It's not that I won't let you wash. You just can't be in the water for too long," he said. I nodded, a little embarrassed by his gaze. Fengge remembered her wet hair. "I've already memorized the steps for the heated sleeping platform. It's too hot out there, so you don't have to go tomorrow. I'll take you to see it when it's done. You can ask Yunduo to stay with you here, or you can go to her cave. You can talk to her." He had already asked what the cave needed, and once the platform was finished, he would get all of it. These were his duties as her mate. All Qing Yu had to do was be with him. Qing Yu thought that was fine. She had a lot to do too, and she had something to ask him. What was Yuji's leather made of? I didn't get a good look. Fengge thought for a moment. It's made from the threads of a silkworm. He hadn't paid much attention to them, but some females like to weave them into clothes. They tear easily. Then it's not silk, she said. But if it could be made into clothes, it could be made into other things too. She didn't care where they came from. Seeing the light in her eyes, Fengge smiled. "You like it?" "Yes, I do," she said. "I can make a lot of things with it. I can wear beast hides in the summer, but not in the winter. I need to wear something close to my body so I don't feel cold. I can make other things too. It's so useful." Fengge looked at her with disbelief. This made Qing Yu wrinkle her nose. Clothes were already made, so it wouldn't be strange to make other things. She wasn't afraid of him finding out what she could do. She rambled on and on. Fengge went from being surprised to laughing. Her lively expression was so different from the fearful one he had seen before. He gently pressed his fingers against her lips and she finally stopped. "I believe you," he said. "I'll go get some tomorrow." Qing Yu felt his mood change. and didn't say anything else. He would know once she made it. The sky had already turned dark. She quickly finished her food, washed up, and pulled Fenge to rest. Fenge lay in the cave but couldn't sleep. He always felt hot during the warm season. Before, he would sleep whenever he felt tired, but if he couldn't sleep, he would just wander around outside. Being pulled to bed by his mate was a new experience for him. He was busy this afternoon but wasn't tired. He watched Qingyu sleep. Her face was flushed, and she looked so cute. He was about to reach out and pinch her cheek, but she felt his body heat and rolled away, further and further. He held her back twice, but she rolled to the other side again and even kicked him. He was surprised she could sleep so soundly. He sat up and looked at her wounds. He then leaned into her ear and whispered, "I know you're awake. The swelling is gone, but there's still some redness. Does it feel better now?" Qingyu was terrified. She almost had a heart attack. No matter how soundly she was sleeping, his movements were enough to wake her up. She turned her back to him, changing the subject. "My back hurts. Did a bug bite me?" "Yes, it was a big bug," Fenge said, smiling. His partner, who had curled up into a ball, clearly wanted to refuse, but he knew she was doing it on purpose, and his heart softened. He wrapped his arms around her and sniffed her neck. She smelled so good. Early the next morning, Qingyu stood under a silkworm tree. She had insisted on it, so Fenge brought her here. On the way, he also asked Juning to bring Yunduo. "I've told you many times that you have wounds on your legs. Just play around here. I'll come back and pick them for you when I'm done," he had said. Qingyu's eyes lit up when she saw the long, silky threads on the tree. With her experience climbing fruit trees, she grabbed a branch and started climbing. Yunduo watched her, realizing what she was doing. She gave the threads a look of disgust. "Qingyu, are you trying to make clothes with these? They're so thin. When the wind blows, they'll get tangled, and the clothes will be full of holes." She started climbing up the tree too. Even if they have holes, who cares, as long as they're useful? Qingyu reached out to pull her up, but Yunduo shooed her away. "Don't pull me. I'll pull you up. If you fall and get hurt, Brother Yi will come looking for me. Didn't you see how much he talked to you before we left?" Xuning and I were shocked. Qingyu was speechless. She heard his familiar laugh and knew that nothing serious would come out of his mouth. "Let's gather more. I know how to make them neat." Yunduo's smile disappeared. "Really? Will you teach me?" she asked seriously. Qingyu nodded. She didn't know how to make clothes, but she knew how to knit scarves. She could just copy what she knew. It might be ugly, but she could definitely make something. As Yunduo was picking, she suddenly thought of something. She gasped. "If these little threads can be made into useful things, then the long fur can too. It's thicker and bigger than these." Qingyu stopped and looked at her. "Long and thick? Oh yeah, the white balls," she said. Yunduo kept saying how much better those were. "The males will pick them during the cold season and bring them back." Placed on the stone bed, what first came to mind was wild cotton. "Where can I find it?" she asked. "If it's really wild cotton, I'll be able to sleep on a soft bed from now on." "Why?" Yunduo didn't even look up from her work. "The white fluff won't be ready for a while. When it is, I'll take you to pick a lot of it. You can also use it on those days when you're bleeding. For now, go to my cave and get some." Bleeding. That was a very direct way to put it, but it was true. "I'll go to your cave at noon to see what you have and make something from it." Fengji's cave was bare, and there were still a lot of things they needed. "Let's go," Yunduo said. "Besides, Brother Yi will definitely want you to be with me. He's so worried even though we're so close." Qingyu looked at her own body. "Maybe it's because I'm too thin and timid. He probably thinks I'll fall even when I'm walking." She was a little embarrassed, as if she was being treated like a porcelain doll. Yunduo laughed loudly. "My situation was much worse when I first came here. I was even more timid than you. Do you want to know why?" she asked mysteriously. Qingyu was startled by her secretive tone but nodded without hesitation. There wasn't a girl alive who didn't want to hear some gossip. Yunduo smiled widely as she reminisced. "Before I became an adult, I lived a miserable life in the Western beast market. The male beastmen from the West came to the North to steal things, and the Northern males fought back. That's when I met the tall and fierce Xuning. I asked him to take me back with him, but Xuning's mother didn't want a female from the West to stay, and another female who liked him spent 2 days in a row calling me shameless. But I grew up in the Western beast market, so I'd heard a lot of insults. When I became an adult, I followed Xuning everywhere he went, asking him to take me with him. He had no choice but to give in to my persistence, and before long, we became mates. Qingyu gave her a thumbs up, feeling a little admiration. She knew that if Yunduo had stayed in the West, she wouldn't have had a good life. She had been brave to escape that environment. Yunduo had never heard of a thumbs up, but she could see the praise on Qingyu's face. She chuckled and continued. I used to think he became my mate because I pestered him. But last year, during the cold season, Suning was so afraid I would freeze to death that he only went out to eat when he was really starving. He would then rush back to warm me. That's when I knew he also liked me. Qingyu waited for a moment and then looked up in confusion. Is that it? What happened to the dating part? She asked, interested. Yunduo looked at her. You want to hear about mating too? Go back to work. Work. That's not something you should hear about. She saw Qingyu's expression and laughed. Qingyu could only pretend not to hear and focus on collecting the silkworm threads. Suddenly, Fengge stood up straight, crossed his arms, and stared intently at her. Qingyu remembered how he had told her not to climb the tree multiple times that morning. She felt a little nervous. The two of them stared at each other. Fengge turned into his beast form. His height was now about the same as Qingyu's position on the tree. He found a spot with fewer branches and squeezed through, shaking his head. He let out a few grunts, showing his displeasure. Qingyu understood, but she still thought he was adorable. She had always loved fluffy things, and now a fluffy head was right in front of her. She reached out and rubbed it. Meeting his disapproving eyes, she smiled and explained, This tree is different from the fruit tree. It's easy to climb. Fengge closed his eyes a little, enjoying her touch. He moved closer and shook his head, motioning for her to climb onto him. Qingyu was a little scared as she climbed onto his head and then onto his neck. She had already ridden on his back that morning, but she was still a little scared. If she fell from this height, it would be over. Once she was securely on his neck, she continued to stroke his soft fur. It must be so warm in the winter, she thought. It was so nice that he had a thick coat of fur in his beast form. Since it was too hot, he let her down in a cool spot. He then turned back into his human form and quickly climbed the tree to pick the rest of the threads. Before long, there were very few threads left on the large tree. Fengge jumped down and casually wiped the sweat from his forehead. I'll do all this from now on, he said. The day was still very hot, even with the leaves blocking the sun. Qingyu pursed her lips. She had told him that morning that she couldn't do the heavy work, but she could do what she was capable of. It wasn't right to push all the work onto Fengge alone. She sat there stubbornly, not saying a word. Fengge licked his lips and crouched down, afraid she would get tired. What's wrong? Why are you unhappy? He asked. You fall asleep in an instant at night, but you have so much energy during the day. You should rest more in the cave so you'll have more energy at night. Qingyu's neck and ears turned red. She turned to look around. Sister Yonduo and Jiuning were in the distance, looking at the prey they had brought back. Only then did she feel her face cool down. Can you be more serious? It's the middle of the day. What's not serious about what I said? Fengge leaned back, a half smile on his face. I'm being too serious, which is why I let you do what you want. You run around all day, but at night, all you feel is pain. Qingyu quickly covered his mouth with her trembling hands to stop him from saying anything more inappropriate. Brother Yi, are Yunduo and the others still here? If you say one more thing, I'll pinch your mouth. Her expression was fierce, and she used some force to show she wasn't joking. The person crouching next to her was much taller, and he had to look up at her. He felt her tug his lips and then smiled. Then his tongue licked her palm. Qingyu's eyes widened, and she instantly let go. A familiar scene flashed through her mind, and she stood there in a daze, not knowing what to do. After a minute, she finally came to her senses, but her face turned red again. She muttered softly, Why do you lick everything? My hand is all sweaty. You seemed to like it that day. I could feel it. His low voice made Qingyu feel like she had been struck by lightning. This time, she was truly speechless. Fengge's sharp gaze was like a knife, scanning her from head to toe. Qingyu felt as if she were naked. Fengge, we're outside right now. I'll get mad if you keep doing this, she said, her voice trembling. Fengge sat on the ground casually, stretching his long legs and getting closer to her. As for her getting angry, he could tell she was just shy, like a little cub. How angry could she get? They had already mated, so why was she still so shy? Just a few words would make her blush, which made him want to tease her even more. Xiuning and Yunduo had already left, and no one was listening. "Can we talk now?" "It's so hot. Let's go back." Qingyu didn't want to talk to him. She pushed his head away from her ear. She was about to get up, but he pulled her back. "Qingyu," he said. She didn't know how he could be so indecent, and yet so natural. His eyes looked as if he wanted to eat her. But he didn't do anything. He just held her tightly. "Are you going to leave just because you can't talk to me?" Feng Ye rested his chin on her forehead. "Let me hug you. I haven't seen you in a while, and I miss you so much. It's even hotter in the afternoon. So don't come out. I'll come pick you up when I'm done." He was coming to pick her up to go back to the cave to eat the roasted crab meat. After she was full, he would go out again. "I'll stay in the cave with Sister Yunduo this afternoon." She gave him the answer he wanted. Feng Ye turned into his beast form and carried the remaining threads on his back. While the two men roasted meat, Qingyu and Yunduo began to untangle the threads and roll them into balls, which would make them easier to use later. They worked on their own things without speaking, and the atmosphere was harmonious. When the meat was cooked, Feng Ye watched her eat until she was full. He then went back to Feng Ming's cave with Xiuning. The heated platform was almost done. He planned to finish Feng Yan and Feng Ming's caves before doing his own. The more he did, the better he became. The last one would definitely be the best. Feng Ming was lying in a clean spot, watching his brother come back and walk around the heated platform. "Brother, take a break. You used to do nothing but sleep. I'm not used to you being so hardworking. It makes me look lazy." Feng Ye ignored him. Feng Ming got even more agitated. "You used to be so quiet and would hit me for no reason, but now that you have a sister-in-law, you're still so quiet. How can she stand you?" Feng Ye finally turned his head. "You're too relaxed," he said. "Otherwise, why would you be so talkative?" Meanwhile, Qingyu saw the white balls Yunduo had mentioned. They looked like cotton, but also didn't. They were very soft. Her first thought was that she could finally sleep on a soft bed. After she decided what to make, she borrowed a drum knife from Yunduo. She was determined to make a few outfits first. Yunduo found some thin animal hides and handed them and the knife to her. "I'll organize these things. You can make the clothes first." Yunduo saw Qingyu's small body and said loudly, "Stop, stop. You can organize these things. I'll make the clothes for you." Qingyu, who had just been looked down upon, said, "I can do it myself. I've already tried it, and I can." Qingyu was still wearing the leaves. They shook with her movements, revealing the marks on her neck. Hehehe. Yunduo laughed. Qingyu was using the drum knife to cut the size of the hide. She heard the laugh and instinctively looked up. Yunduo was looking at her. "Does your neck not feel hot?" she asked. "It's just the two of us. There's nothing to be embarrassed about." Qingyu didn't want to wear the leaves, but when she woke up that morning, the marks on her body hadn't faded. They were even more noticeable. So she had no choice but to wrap herself in them. She had wrapped herself even more tightly than yesterday. She still wasn't used to going out with all these marks. Her attempts at covering them were too deliberate and exaggerated. "I'll just leave them on," she said. "They can also protect me from the sun." "I'm curious," Yunduo said, prying the leaves apart with her hand. Her eyes widened. "It looks like Brother Yi used all his strength on you." Qingyu didn't stop her. They were both women, so she didn't care much. "He didn't use all his strength on me," she said helplessly. "He just used it on the only place he could. He was really holding back. I was really in a lot of pain. When he couldn't get what he wanted in one place, he found it in another. That's how these marks came to be." Yunduo blinked ambiguously, showing she understood. She and Xiuning had just become mates, and she often couldn't get out of bed for 2 days. She had a lot of experience with this. "It will get better after a while," she said. "If your mate leaves, you'll still want him." Qingyu was speechless. She listened to Yunduo talk and gesture all afternoon, going from blushing to being completely used to it. Qingyu thought Feng Ye would come back to the cave at the same time as yesterday, but as the sky slowly grew darker, there was still no sign of him. She and Yunduo sat at the entrance of the cave and roasted some meat. After they were full, they saw him walking toward them with a stone pot that weighed at least a few dozen pounds. Feng Ye put the pot down and wiped the sweat from his chest. He asked Qingyu if she had eaten enough. "Brother Ye," Yunduo said, pouting. "The way you ask that makes it sound like I would abuse Qingyu." Feng Ye raised an eyebrow. He was used to asking that question and didn't think anything of it. Qingyu laughed at them. She picked up a ball of thread and wiped his face with it. "I'm full," she said. Her big eyes were full of questions. "Were you busy today?" Fenjie lowered his eyes as her soft little hands wiped his face and neck. His throat moved slightly. "I made something, so I was a little late." Qingyu's body smelled so good, even her breath was sweet. He wanted to lower his head and kiss her, but remembered she was shy. He gathered the things he was taking with him, held the stone pot in one hand and the other things in the other, and crouched down. "Get on, let's go back." Qingyu looked at the darkness outside. She couldn't see anything, unlike Fenjie. If she walked, it would take her a long time. She obediently got on his broad back. He looked down and saw her soft little hands wiping his face and neck. His throat moved slightly. "I made a few things, so I was a little late." Qingyu's body smelled so good. Even her breath was sweet. He wanted to lower his head and kiss her, but he remembered she was shy. He gathered the things he was taking with him, held the stone pot in one hand and the other things in the other, and squatted down. "Get on, let's go back." Qingyu looked outside at the pitch black. Unlike Fenjie, she couldn't see the path. If she walked by herself, it would take her a long time. She obediently got on his broad back. Fenjie used his tongue to press against the roof of his mouth. His mate hadn't understood what he meant. "If you're on my shoulders, I can't hold you with all this stuff, and after a while, your legs won't be able to hold onto my waist." He wanted to put the things away before he came to get her. It was more comfortable to hold her in his arms, but it was getting dark too quickly, and he was afraid she would be scared if he didn't come. So he had no choice but to bring the stone pot with him. He had wanted her to sit on his shoulders, but her pale legs were right in front of him. He instinctively wanted to reach out and squeeze them, but looked at the things in his hands and resisted the urge. Qingyu adjusted her position and made sure she was sitting securely. She wrapped her arms tightly around his head. As he stood up, his height was almost 2.5 meters. Her hands, which had just been wrapped around his head, now clutched his neck. Fenjie's hands were full, but with his mate on his shoulders, he was in a great mood on the way back to the cave. Qingyu didn't even turn to say goodbye to Yunduo, clinging to Fenjie for dear life. "You don't have to hold on so tight. I won't let you fall," he said. "If you do lose your balance, I'll drop everything and catch you." He didn't even dare to move his head. If he did, Qingyu would get nervous. Because he was always in the sun, Fenjie's skin was smooth. Now he was also covered in sweat, making it even harder for Qingyu to hold on. She had no choice but to clutch his neck tightly. She crossed her legs in front of his chest and leaned back. "Your body is too slippery. I'm using a lot of force, but I can't hold on tight," she said, feeling a little wronged. She had never ridden on anyone's shoulders before and was naturally a little scared. She tentatively extended a hand and tried to feel for her hair. "My hair is too short to hold on to. Can I hold on to your ears instead?" Fenjie gritted his teeth. With her strength, she could have stretched his ears. From now on, he would not hold anything in his hands when he was with her. It was better to hold her in his arms. "You can hold on wherever you feel comfortable," he said, allowing her hands to roam over his head. He sped up only when she found a comfortable position. When they got to the cave, Qingyu was surprised to see so many new things. There was wood ear, a pile of saltwater fruits, and tools for holding water. "Weren't you making the heated platform? How did you have time to get all of this?" she asked. Qingyu had also wanted to get these things, but the heated platform was a matter of life and death, so she had to put them off. She hadn't expected Fenjie to get some already. He saw how happy she was and felt that all his hard work was worth it. "I was going to make them anyway," he said. "I just did it when I had some time." Qingyu was so excited that she turned around and hugged his waist. "A man who takes care of the family is the best." Fenjie was a little surprised by her action. She had never hugged him before, or if she had, it was because she had been forced to. His eyes showed a hint of surprise. He was about to reach out when Qingyu walked over to the water container and looked at it from all angles. Fenjie was a little slow to react. "It's not made of wood or stone." As she was about to ask, Fenjie seemed to know what she was going to say. "They're just like the ones we use for drinking, but this one is bigger." He squatted down and laid out a beast hide. With one arm, he picked her up and took her to take a bath. Qingyu had so many questions, but she was already off the ground. She blushed. Fenjie loved to see her embarrassed. He picked her up and walked away. All the words she wanted to say were stuck in her throat. Half an hour later, they were both clean and sitting on the beast hide. "Didn't you say you wouldn't lie to me?" Fengye asked, his voice hinting at something. "Or do you only lie to me?" Qingyu blinked. Fengye's face showed no sign of softening. She lowered her head and looked at the ground. "It's because you're too strong and I was scared." She was truly trapped by him. Yesterday, he had asked her if she was okay, and she said no. When they were bathing, he looked at her again. The bruises were still there, and they were still red. So he asked her again, and she stammered a reply. What was there not to understand? She had lied to him again. Fengye reached out and pulled her onto his lap. He held her waist tightly. His expression was calm, with a hint of a smile. But his words were chilling. "I've asked you twice about this, and you've lied to me twice. If you lie to me again, I'll make you stay in bed for a few days." The person in his arms was so scared, she didn't react for a long time. Fengye gritted his teeth and smiled. "Since you think I'm too rough, you can be in charge." Qingyu's eyes widened. She couldn't believe what she was hearing. "He wants me to be in charge?" She was stunned, not knowing what to say or do. Fengye's lips slowly curled into a smile. His fingers moved from her waist to her chin, and then to her lips, rubbing them. His eyes were full of seriousness. His chiseled face and mocking smile made Qingyu a little flustered. One of her hands was still on his chest, moving up and down with his breathing. Below, his rock-hard abs were visible in the faint light of the fire, looking wild and beautiful. Qingyu swallowed. "He wants me to be in charge? Should I touch him first? Should I kiss him?" Fengye was just trying to scare her. Qingyu was too shy to take the lead, but her face was red and her breathing was hot. She wanted to do something, but didn't know where to start. Her eyes went from his chest to his stomach. "Which part do you like?" he asked. Fengye could see everything clearly. He grabbed her hand and moved it from his chest to his stomach. Her soft touch made his body heat up. Qingyu's breathing also became heavy. She tried to pull her hand away, but he held it tightly. She looked up at him, and he motioned for her to hurry. She knew she couldn't escape tonight. Maybe if she took the lead, it would be more comfortable. Her hand slowly moved over his body. At first, she just touched him gently, but then she couldn't help but squeeze. It felt so good. Before, she liked to touch him but didn't dare to, because she knew what would happen. Over time, she felt herself getting a little thirsty. Fengye was too tall. She was sitting on the ground and could only reach his shoulders when he was standing up. She straightened her body, wrapped her arms around his neck, and slowly moved closer. She kissed his cold lips. They were soft. Maybe it was because he had been in the water for so long, but they tasted like water and smelled good. Qingyu saw that he didn't react much, so she lowered her head and kissed his Adam's apple. She noticed it bobbing up and down. Before she could look up to see his expression, their positions had already changed. Her gentle kiss had turned into a passionate one. Her kiss was a light touch, but his was a full-on assault. The corners of Fengye's eyes were a little red. When he saw her, he just wanted to hold her and kiss her. If he hadn't thought she was hurt, he wouldn't have held back. With her actions, he couldn't hold back anymore. His large hands held the back of her head. The firelight shone on her skin, making it look warm and inviting. Qingyu was in a daze from the kissing and moved with him. The rest of the scene is not meant for public viewing. When Fengye woke up, the person in his arms was still sound asleep. He leaned down and kissed her cheek. He then went to get medicine, pick fruit, and hunt. The meat was already roasted, but Qingyu was still sleeping and had even turned over, looking completely at ease. He sat on the beast hide and put a piece of roasted meat in front of her nose, but she didn't react. He had seen many males and females who were heavy sleepers, but his mate was the heaviest sleeper of all. He wanted to wake her up to eat and then let her go back to sleep. His ears twitched. He heard a rustling sound in the distance, and it was getting closer fast. Xuan had gone to his brother's cave first, but when he found out Fengye was here, he hurried over. He transformed into his human form. "Brother Yi," he said. Fengye was a little surprised. "Xuan is not usually like this." "So it's this," he said. He nodded. "That's good. I heard my brother say that you found a mate too, Qingyu." Fengye gave him an angry look, and Xuan immediately changed his words. "Sister-in-law." Fengye gave him a sidelong glance. He felt like sister-in-law sounded a little off, but when he thought about it, it was correct. "You already know we're making the heated platforms. Come and watch the next time we do it. You'll learn quickly. Females who are gonna have babies need to be taken care of. He then told Xuan to go back. He used the stone pot to make a pot of meat stew for Qingyu to drink when she woke up. Qingyu was woken up by hunger. When she opened her eyes, she saw roasted meat on a leaf next to her. The cave was silent. Fengyue had already left. She didn't understand why he could go without sleep. He had kept her up all night, but in the morning, he looked like a completely normal person who had gotten up early. Was every beastman's stamina this good? She slowly got up and washed her face with the water in the cave. She then grabbed the roasted meat and started to eat. She didn't plan on going out today and wanted to rest in the cave. She picked up a ball of thread and was about to go outside to find a branch to make a towel when she heard footsteps. She looked up and saw Fengyue. She remembered what had happened last night and quickly turned her back to him, not wanting to look at him. She was truly angry. She had begged him to stop, but he just got more excited. She felt like she was going to pass out. Fengyue saw the marks on her back and felt a rare pang of guilt. He softened his voice. "Qingyu, I'm sorry." His little mate ignored him. Fengyue licked his lips. He was holding the pot of meat stew and knelt in front of her. Qingyu's anger was soft, just like last night. Her eyes were red from crying, but that only made him want to go harder. Now she was angry, and he took her hand and put the meat stew on it. He knew she wouldn't drink it if he fed her. "Drink the meat stew first, and then you can be mad at me. You can hit me or scold me. I'll listen to you from now on. I won't be like that anymore." Fenga smiled to please her. He was a male who would fight anyone who crossed him, so this was very unnatural for him. Qingyu finally looked up at him. His skin was rough and thick. Hitting him would only hurt her hand. He wouldn't feel anything. Last night, she was so angry that she scratched his shoulders, but now there wasn't a single mark. As for listening to her, she didn't take that seriously at all. He listened to her when she was happy. But in bed, his words meant nothing. She just wanted to show him she was angry and didn't want to start a cold war. She knew he was sorry, so she didn't press the issue. She took the pot of stew. It looked very thick and white and was still a little hot. She blew on it and took a sip. It wasn't fishy and was very rich. She smiled, happy with the taste. But then Fengyue's words made her want to bite him. "There's a whole pot of it. Drink more, and you won't feel like you're going to pass out. I like the sound you make too." Fengyue saw Qingyu smile and thought she wasn't mad anymore, so he let his words flow. The next second, she grabbed his face. He instinctively raised his eyebrows. Qingyu's head was buzzing. She quickly remembered the words he had whispered in her ear. "Qingyu, you're too thin. You can't take much." She squeezed his face harder. "I can't take it. I can't take it." Now, all she could think about was not being able to take it. Maybe it was because he had lied to her, or maybe it was because she had started taking the lead, but he was especially excited. He was sweating and went to the river. She could still hear the splashing water. When he came back to the cave, it was a mess. "Don't pinch me," he said, his expression fierce, as if he was mad again. Fengyue pulled her hands down. "Your fingers will hurt." Qingyu felt helpless. It was normal that she couldn't beat him. Their sizes and strengths were too different. But why couldn't she leave any marks on him? She secretly looked at her fingernails. They were too soft and not sharp at all. She gave up and just drank the stew, not wanting to look at him. No matter what she said to him, he would make it sound indecent. Fengyue had a talent for that. He would filter out what she wanted to say and just say what he wanted. "Do you want to dry some more fruit?" "I'll go get some you've never seen before. The ones you had before were good." Qingyu ignored him. Fengyue continued. "Are you tired of the fat meat? I'll go get some other animals." When he didn't get a response, he lowered his head to look at her expression. Qingyu heard Fengyue's cautious and pleasing voice. She was already about to break. Seeing his little actions, she bit her lip. Her eyes were full of laughter. Fengyue finally relaxed. "I'll be careful in the future," he said. Qingyu nodded and changed to a more comfortable position. The heated platform was done, and she would see the results tomorrow. There was also a pot for boiling water and a container for holding water. That was fine for the warm season. For the rest of the year, they would need a large stone pot and a large stone container. Fengyue and the others were already helping. The stone was very hard and would take a lot of time. Today, he would spend time with Qingyu. Since she liked fruit, he would go get some for her. "You wait here for me. I'll go get the fruit and then come back to spend time with you," he said. As he stood up, his hand was grabbed. Qingyu's watery eyes said she wanted to go too. Fengyue didn't want to refuse. He looked at the sunlight shining through the trees. "The sun is too strong right now. It's hot outside. and females can get sick if they're in the sun for too long. Qingyu still wanted to go, but her body was a weakness. She didn't press the issue. Is it far? If it's too hot, come back early. Feng Ge saw her expression. She clearly wanted to go, but couldn't. His heart softened. He kissed her forehead. I know the sun is too strong today. I'll take you some other time in the morning when it's not so hot. He took her hand and led her to the river. There was a patch of vines here. They were very strong. Feng Ge pulled some out and laid them on the ground. His fingers flew as he quickly wove many bags for the fruit. Qingyu watched him and was in awe. His movements were so fast. She remembered that Yunduo had tasted the dried fruit they made yesterday and was very interested in making some herself. Did you want to ask Brother Xining to help? She asked. Feng Ge gritted his teeth and looked up. What's wrong with my mate always thinking about other females? He looked jealous, which was both funny and frustrating. Did you forget? Sister Yunduo was the one who brought me here, she said. Feng Ge couldn't argue with that. If Yunduo hadn't brought her here, he might not have met her. Don't worry, she said. Yunduo is the type of person who will ask Xining for what she wants. She probably already has a bunch of them in her cave. She also remembered what Yunduo had told her. Always tell your mate what you want, or they might not think of it. Feng Ge finished what he was doing and saw Qingyu still in a daze. He took a few steps and pinched her cheek. Her face was so easy to pinch. He had to resist the urge to do it again. I'll be back soon, he said. After Feng Ge left, Qingyu looked around and then picked up her knife and walked in one direction. There were a few short trees here. She would chop down some fruit and slice it to dry in the sun. But she had overestimated herself. Her knife was sharp, but she wasn't strong. It felt like she was trying to chop down a tree. After a long time, only one leaf fell to the ground. I'll help you chop, Yuling and Yumo said, suddenly appearing from behind a large rock. They looked at Qingyu as if she were an idiot. She was so startled by the unfamiliar voices that her foot slipped and she almost fell. She held onto the tree trunk to steady herself and then turned to face them. Yumo? Yuling? She said in disbelief. Hadn't Feng Ge beaten them up so badly? How could they be up and about so quickly? She found a flat spot and watched them, clutching her knife tightly. Feng Ge wasn't here. What would she do if they tried to hurt her? What are you doing here? She asked. This place was not close to Feng Yan and Feng Ming's caves. She could scream, but they might not hear her. She didn't know what to do.